Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Batiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Society Now, a show that endeavors to bring you riveting content that is sure to incite and inspire and possibly get your peoples right on some facts that's going on. You know, we specialize here in real news, not fake news, giving you verifiable facts. My name is Kira Laws. You can follow me on Instagram at The Modern Day Cindy. That's Cindy with an I, not a Y. And to my left, my handsome co-host over there.
Yo, what's going on? It's your man, Kalen Laws, a.k.a. Senor Wapo. Do me a quick favor. Go to Instagram. Go to Twitter. Go to the Facebook. You can even go to the Snapchat and follow me.
The Facebook.
The Facebook, right. And follow me at SENORGUAPO713. Holla at your boy. We're super excited to give you a brand new, dope edition of Society Now. I tell you, there have been so many different things going on in this country, in this world. And sometimes it's hard to even pick one thing, let alone 13, 15, 18 of them. But guess what?
We're going to do it today. No, we're not 15, though.
Yeah, no. And considering everything that's been going on, it's actually not that difficult.
No,
it's not that.
I mean,
difficult.
It's been so many things happening, and I feel like the conversation is about the same thing, especially in the past week or so. We're talking about relationships, relations. We're talking about how do we actually have mature conversations about what's really happening, not just in celebritydom, but also in people's houses, right?
Real talk.
So I'm excited about. We have some great guests with us today.
We have some phenomenal guests. You know,
who we got?
One of these guests is no stranger to this show.
She been here,
but
a few times.
Done that a couple times, and super excited to have her back, especially for the topic. We're going to get to the topic in just a second. You know how the preacher reads the scripture first and then tell you his message. So we're going to read the scripture first and talk to tell you the title after he can I get the title first? You
like for y'all I didn't quote no scripture. Right. If you go to the first book that was the scripture. Keep your party going.
And so we have a part of our scripture today, and some experts in the building, some folks who really know what we're talking about. And again, this young lady has grown to be a good friend of mine, a colleague. We met in the halls of Texas Southern University. The Texas Southern University. I was the Dr. Janice Moody. How are you?
I am good and excited. Y'all know I always love to come and chop it up with you guys. So with something, playing with the microphone. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to say that, and I'm going to save the rest.
That is. And we have a rookie to the mic. He is a rookie to the mic, but I'm telling you, his insight, his intellect, his perspective, his pen, everything that he is put into into the atmosphere in terms of writing, in terms of him being a creative, is especially powerful and poignant and proper for today's discussion. I got a good friend, a good buddy of mine who we met through our brother-in-law. God bless his heart and his soul. Caleb, we love you. But he's become a good friend. Anthony Massey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, bro. How you doing, man?
I'm well.
I feel like doing like the crowd goes round.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming to hang out, bro. I certainly appreciate it. And so today's episode, really what we're going to talk about. Generally, we like to go through a number of different topics and kind of just give our perspective, our insight, what we see, know, and understand. But we want to hinge on one specific topic and let it be, honestly, a part one, because we want to come back to a part two with this, and we'd love to have you guys for a part two for a live event here within the next few weeks as we prepare. But we want to talk about the importance and the value of black women, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But in what context, kind of using what as a backdrop?
Well, let's talk about like perspectives and relationships, how people view that relationship situation when we talk about how close one should get, the sexual encounters, the dating, and all that, and also how we I guess, endeavor to protect the black woman.
That's really where I want
how do we endeavor to do that? How do we endeavor to do that? How do we reconcile what's going on? And we talk about economics, education. We talk about the disparities that we see.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, I guess, celebrating her victory while also, lifting up the black man, and what happens when the community is a schism there. Like what happens in the community where people don't recognize that each have needs, right, that can't be neglected, and we can't turn a blind eye on it because generational things have occurred, and we feel like we're far past that. We're just not going to acknowledge it. So I think the conversation is going to be great. We have two great people in the building to talk about it.
And so let's start off with you, Brother Massey. Kind of, you're a poet, you're an author, you're a business person, you're a budding media personality, and so you have one book. I was on Amazon and I was looking at the introduction or the summary of one of your publications, and it's called, and I'm just gonna start with the one that I'm like my students with the funnest one, the funnest one, right? And this one is called A Man's Guide to a Successful Affair. Now I want to read this real quick from Amazon. It says, having an affair is risky. Yeah. A successful affair requires planning and a strict adherence to a code of conduct that allows a cheater to prolong the inevitable, getting caught. This guide highlights all common mistakes men make when they pursue and engage in extramarital affairs. Following the step-by-step process will help the cheater cheat the right
Let me jump in. Look, I gotta jump
in.
I
love it, bro.
So when
I love this, man.
When I first got this book, I think it was around the time we met him. And I was like, "What in the heaven is happening right now?" And I was like, "This is a real book." And I had to crack open the book.
He has a real ISBN
pages,
number.
And I had to crack open the pages to appreciate the content. But when I read it, I was so this is the type of person my sister fiance hanging out with. I don't know. Jeez, we gotta talk. And then I read it.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised.
Absolutely, man. So
but it was good.
Give us a little bit more information behind the book, the reason why, the how, all of that.
Okay, so the book is really about. It was a result of my frustration dealing with being single and meeting women and hearing their stories about being cheated on, and really recognizing the game and the manipulation and being frustrated that they didn't. I would hear women come to me and say, what does it mean when a man does this? Or what does it mean when a man does that? As if there's some type of mystery behind behavior that is blatantly
What's the code?
Disrespectful.
Right.
But it if someone hits you, you don't have to sit there and figure out why you got hit. You know what I mean? If you do, you're just going to waste time and make yourself vulnerable to get hit again.
I'm about to say, about to get hit again.
Yeah, you're about to get hit again. While you're trying to figure out what happened, you're going to get hit again. Protect yourself. And I'll be honest, I served as a subject matter expert for some of the mistakes made in this book. I haven't always been 100% faithful. But I went into a cheating relationship with motivations that were not consistent with what I think some women believe men cheat for sex.
Yeah.
And the reality is that sex is really not a motivator for cheating. It's really about opportunity and desire. A man who has the desire to cheat will make the opportunity. He'll create it.
Is it that hunter-gatherer type thing? I feel like.
I think it's beyond that. I think it's really, again, if a man has a lot of opportunity to cheat, right, then he is going to have to curb whatever desire he has. So that's why some men are more prone to cheating, just because they just have more opportunity to cheat. There are some guys out there who they'll never cheat because nobody want to cheat with them. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, okay.
I'm bursting.
No, but please get in
Okay,
that.
so my first question is, if we talk about the desire, my question is, where does the desire come from? And that was rhetorical because I have theories, of course. I would imagine that initially, if there are things in your relationship, your primary relationship, that you don't get, and those things can vary from one person to the next, then despite opportunity, then, they're more inclined to actually kind of go and seek what you don't get in the context of your relationship. Now, there are some people who, by and large, everything that they said that they wanted, they have access to in the context of the relationship, and there's still a desire. And considering the risk that's involved, you would wonder what in the world would make you risk losing what should be perfect for you based on what you said that your actual desire, your needs, and your wants were. And for you to go out and still decide that, okay, well, there's other stuff that I need. And some of what I've found is that even in doing the relationship work, there are a lot of men who don't even know what it is that they're looking for. Absolutely. But what you find out, a lot of the picture that ends up being painted by some of their other patterns of behavior is that there are holes that they're trying to fill. Sure. Sometimes it's about the ego stroke. And it's like, I am a bucket of holes that, despite the fact that I might be married or attached in a primary relationship with somebody who is an ongoing faucet, it is not ever going to be enough. Right. So when it comes down to those types of circumstances and women having an awareness of what the red flags might be for that kind of stuff, what do you suggest you need to be looking for somebody who legitimately cannot be filled by somebody outside of themselves until they're more secure in who they are?
Right, and I identify certain behavior that highlights exactly what you're talking about. Because I think cheating is the same behavior that motivates watching pornography. I don't believe that pornography is just about sex. I really think that they're trying to fill a hole, and the access to pornography has made it even more dangerous because now I can get my fix and no one has to know about it. I don't have to go to no adult bookstore. I ain't got to hide DVDs under my bed or whatever those guys do because I don't do that.
I don't do that.
Disclaimer.
I don't know what they do, but I know for me in my house, I don't do
that. In case my mama listening.
Dear mama, I don't do it. I don't do it.
But ultimately, I don't think, and what I talk about in my book is, I don't think that it should be a woman's responsibility or even her inclination to prevent a man from cheating.
You can't.
Right. So having that knowledge in hand, what you do is you protect yourself from receiving behavior or treatment that is not desirable. You're not going to change me, and you're not going to love me past my pain because I'm the only person that can do that.
Well, I need you to make that public service announcement one more time.
Do it for the people in the back. And I think that's where I kind of wanted to lead up into, because, when you look at, we hear about this relationship, this power struggle in relationships, and then you hear about this perspective. Like, his perspective is, it's the opportunity to. Some people don't get the opportunity, so it doesn't happen. Some people get several opportunities, and they might be stronger. They can just kind of, they might actually be intrinsically satisfied with what they have, and they don't necessarily jump on the opportunity. But it really is a lot of, I think it's a lot to that, right? I don't think it's just one specific answer that will cover everyone. But I think that it goes back to this whole ideal of, how do we value the women that we're encountering, and how how do we value them, and how and even psychologically, how does it affect them when you continue to feel like you're on a hamster wheel with the relationships? Malcolm X said, the most disrespected woman in America is a black woman, right? The most unprotected person, the most neglected person is the black woman. So from an African American perspective, what are we doing to, you see her, Dr. Booty's face is everything right now. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, oh no.
Right.
What are we doing? Because his perspective is, it is what it is. If you're going to cheat, there's certain things you have to do to be successful. But the recommendation, just don't go through it at all, right?
And I think one thing that's oftentimes not realized and was not talked about is that power dynamics. And I think that's an overarching theme about what you're talking about, Tony, is the power dynamics. Men are trying to assert themselves in some sort of dominant way, or in always dominantly, and it comes across against the one that we're attracted to or that we're trying to be in a relationship with. Interestingly enough, I was doing some research, and even when it comes to hetero or homosexual relationships, the level of cheating is still about the same. Right. You understand what I'm saying? So that leads to in the theory of Tony rather, that it's more than just the sex. It's more than just the physical thing.
I feel like it's the conquering thing. I feel like
it's
the ability
the power dynamic.
The power dynamic, the ability to not necessarily conquer as in the sexual thing, but conquer as in I can get it. Like let me the challenge of the hunt, the pursuit. Like I want to feel like I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of
and that's where the stroke comes from. Yeah, that's where. I made another accomplishment. Mm-hmm. I'm desirable. I'm desirable because I was able to get this one too. I got this one too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you want me.
He want me. He want me. He do it. He do.
Listen, on this show, we love to smile. We love to have a good time, even on. Even during the difficult topics, and we're really going to get into some heavy stuff real quick. But before we get into that heaviness, I want to make you smile and let you know who's sponsoring this portion of the show, and that is Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We are committed to the finest possible oral care and overall health and well-being for our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. And through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that we are part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. Dr. Batiste and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Asandra Batiste at Elite Dental Wellness by calling 713-789-8680. Or again at 713-789-8680.
Bling.
So I'm over here smiling and being silly, but this is a serious conversation, a serious topic, and like you just did, Kira, to bring it back home with these cheating dynamics, with these power dynamics, with this innate, not even just innate in some men or some people period to cheat. Desire to cheat. I said something because I know guys that they love to. I know a couple guys that are like, yo, give me something. Nah, cuz I'm not hooking you up with nobody I know, bro, because you are the worst kind of human being. Right. And I don't even know why I got your number in my phone type. Right. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'm never, no, because you're like a dog for real. Right. And there are those, there are all those guys who are just vultures. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, who pays in a heterosexual relationship? Who pays the price? Our sisters, our queens, our wives, our mothers. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I am.
And see, I think it's an interesting dynamic that a lot of women. I got to stop saying stuff like that. I've heard women say that the treatment, they compared the treatment of other women, of my peers, to the same treatment of my mother. So would you do that to your mother, right? And here's the thing. I know the black men that I grew up around, we put our mothers on pedestals that were so, elevated. Deified. Yeah. The idea.
Not my mama.
Right. The idea. I mean, I'd fight you if you said something about my mama.
Facts.
Right. So
that's the way the hood taught us, though, right?
Facts.
So let's fast forward now to a point where now I'm dealing with women. I don't compare you to my mother because there is no comparison. So the way I treat you has nothing to do with how I view, respect, or love my mother.
Y'all gonna make me
we
jump.
are on different planes, right? Yeah. So it's not a good comparison.
So, and I was really trying to save this. I really was, but there's no schedule here. There's no schedule. Okay, so when you say that, I think about a clip that I saw just last week, and it was a clip of R. Kelly.
All right.
Here we go.
And he was talking about how much he loved his mother. And he talked about he loved her so much he would have wanted to marry her. He said when he was a kid he asked his mom.
Weird as hell.
He asked his
right.
He proposed to his mom. His mom obviously said no, right? And he said, but his mom was he was very, very detailed in the script. He said my mom used to drink coffee every morning. He said she would wear this cheap lipstick. He called it cheap. He said and she would drink out of her coffee cup. And with her cheap lipstick, he said, and he was a kid, he would go and drink behind her put his lips on that same cup. Now I'm making reference to it because of what you just mentioned, Tony, that you can never be as great as my mom. You know what I mean? Like my mom is this person and you're just Keisha from down the street.
It's so-
and
You're
it's
just a
really,
woman.
and you're just a woman. And how do
Yeah,
we
to that
get
kind
from
of guy, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
How do we get from? And we're not even gonna get into the details of who he is,
Yeah,
right? But
no,
just
no, for
just
sure.
how his just the what he said. You know, how do we deify a woman, but not necessarily my sister, because she came from the same person.
That's
like how
good.
how
That's
do you
good.
how
That's
do you
good,
see the
Kira.
disconnect from this person to your little cousin? You know what I mean? How do you not see them in the same light? I'm curious. Do y'all have an answer?
Yeah, I don't have an answer because I don't. Yeah.
I am too, but I also think about how during slavery, where there was such a tremendous systematic, intentional emasculation
Right.
strategy.
Yeah.
And as
Willie
far
Lynch,
as
whether it's been verified or not, the Willie Lynch.
ultimately. So if black men and black boys did not have the capacity to protect themselves, then we were a bit more overprotective.
Yeah.
A bit more nurturing, a bit more tolerant of
Yeah.
stuff. And that has transmitted from one generation to the next.
For sure.
So in terms of, even if you look at the differences in terms of how we rear our children, the standards are different and expectations are different for the girls and the boys.
And I have a problem with that.
Yeah. It makes a whole lot of sense because, in essence, a lot of times they're handicapped.
Yeah.
And they develop these expectations and are kind of set up to expect transactional relationships because
Absolutely.
ultimately, mom is the person who provides everything. And if I am, in essence, perfect in her sight, there's nothing that I have to do to reciprocate that.
Versus the little girl who has to work hard. She has chores. She has to learn how to cook. She has to learn how to
And your
do things.
value is tied as a little girl to what it is that you have to offer to everybody else.
True that.
So if we consider how black women are valued, I mean, it's almost like we're socialized to martyrdom.
Yeah.
So in terms of what we look like in the household, consider what the perception of us is in the larger mainstream. In essence, I kind of look at it like we look at black people and black culture. Everybody loves black culture, but don't nobody want
Wanna
black
be
people.
black.
Don't
Nobody
nobody
wanna-
want to be bothered with
nobody
black
wants to deal
people.
with it.
So if we consider that the children and the people who are determined to need the most are the people who are attended to the most, those are the people that we kind of provide for and support. Well, if black women have historically been looked at and experienced as superheroes whose needs pale in comparison, and we're socialized to be needless ultimately, then you don't need nothing. As a matter of fact, our expectation is that we'll extract your magic and your strength from you, and after that, then you're expendable.
So let's talk about that. So thinking about it from that, like this superhuman person, i.e. the black woman, right? I don't know because apparently we are superhuman because even in the workplace, people look at, or even in, I guess, outside of your home, we have this persona that looks like we're supposed to be harder than, speak differently than, we're not soft, we're not the ones that need to be coddled and loved on. We are automatically, even in Hollywood, we're just getting out of this, but we're cast a certain way. And they even go for a certain look of a certain actress that cast a certain way.
Yeah.
We have this conversation a lot. When it comes to certain roles, you'll see a fairer skinned woman that's more docile and demure, and you'll see a more brown or darker skinned woman being a very strong woman. And we're still trying to deal with that. That's the look of strength as a black woman. And so from your perspective and the things that you've experienced, how do you feel like we are, or even as a man, both of you all, how do y'all compensate for, I guess, this love for mama, but not necessarily the same love for your
So for me,
women.
I don't think it's even an idea of compensation, but it's context, right? It's just two different people, two different persons, two different. We the waffles and spaghetti things, everything.
So
everything that
there's
is
a
compartmentalization.
disconnect.
Yeah, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
So we don't even look, until you elevate yourself and you read and you grow and you get some sense of spirituality and you begin to be a better man. You just don't really draw the connections like that. We just naturally don't do that. It's just so it's one of those things that when you talk to those around you, especially your peers, the people who follow you, the people who subscribe to what you subscribe to, it becomes the same thing. And let me talk to our followers, our peers, and the people that subscribe to us. And that's our Facebook Live, folks. And we ask that you subscribe to our show on all the major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. And review our show on iTunes with constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends. And guess what? You can donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. We need your coin. And send it this way.
Send it. I mean, we won't, we know, jingle versus fold.
Exactly.
We take it all.
Yeah, come on, Jamaica. But Anthony, what say you on that on that front, man?
I think it's I think it's an interesting dynamic. I personally am one of those people that I can draw 6 degrees of separation of the black experience to slavery. I'm very good at that. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Slavery is the origin of the experience in black America.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at how I believe, my theory, and I can't prove this, but the origin of the Oedipus complex, you like that, Doc? I did that just for you. The origin of the Oedipus complex in the black community is Mama's invincibility. She would not break, despite my efforts to do so. Despite the fact that she's picked me up from jail, despite the fact that she has, she
love you to the core, man.
She's loved me. She's loved parts of me that no one else would.
That you didn't even love.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting dynamic. I grew up in one of those homes, and I know I think a lot of black people did. Is Dad was coddled so much. You had to be quiet because Daddy's sleeping. You can't eat until Daddy eats. You got to save Daddy the big piece of chicken.
Big piece of chicken.
Come on, Chris Rock.
So,
I don't know.
but there was so much coddling for Daddy, and then many of those daddies still left.
Yeah.
Mama wouldn't. So my love for her and me deifying her is because she just would not break. And I don't see another woman in that same vein, especially if you decide one day that you're tired of my stuff. When Erykah Badu made that song that you call Tyrone.
And you can't use my phone.
Right. But she drew the line between everything my mother took from me and what you're not willing to, right? And when we talk about the look of a strong black woman, again, we go back to slavery, the mammies and things like that. They were dark skinned, they were large,
Yeah.
they were
And they
so
took care of everyone.
Right.
They fed everyone.
They were literally
from the bodies
nourishment.
and from the kitchen,
Right.
from the pot.
Right.
Yeah.
They would not break. They stood between the whip and the black man.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good line.
Often pregnant. Okay.
Right. right.
Come on
That's what-
now, y'all.
Yeah.
Ooh, y'all
So,
about to say something
it-
here.
How do we, what we need to do as black men, in my opinion, is, not make not differentiate between this black woman and that black woman. And I think it's so sad that even socially, when a black man gets shot by the police or beat in the street or whatever the case may be, the loudest voices that come to his aid are black women.
Oh, absolutely.
When Sandra Bland got shot, very prominent black men actually actually made arguments about whether or not she could have prevented those actions.
Right.
And she's not alone. I mean, I can't remember her name, the light skin.
Oh yeah, so I want to talk about her,
Okay, yeah.
Centonia Brown,
Yeah,
right?
Centoya.
Centoya.
Brown,
So
yeah.
I'm sorry, forgive me, Centoya Brown, and that's an issue. You just made the statement, like, she said to have been sold into a sexual situation. She was defending herself in a sexual situation, regardless of as a lawyer, I take real issue with this whole thing where he might have been asleep. If you are abused and you're a victim, your mental capacity is not differentiating to sleep or not. It's life. I need to live. We don't know all the facts behind it, but the fact that not too many people really were speaking out about her and her issues, it was women coming to her aid initially. Women, and then women of prominence came to her aid. Right. And then we had a few other guys started coming to her aid, but it took people of prominence to start stepping up to start having the conversation. Regular people weren't having the conversation. Right. They had let her, she had a documentary on with Lifetime or something like that a couple of years ago, and still people were not signing a petition. Like, what is going on with that? Like, I'm like, we're seeing our women be abused, and we don't really care enough. And regardless of how she got there, she was there.
We're sanctioning it. I mean, with the same energy we supported OJ, knowing he was guilty.
The same energy.
That's the same energy that we should support black women.
And unfortunately, let's get to some data real quick, right? violence against black women, and this is coming from I forget the name of the Policy Institute. I'll find it in a second. More than 4 in 10 black women experience physical violence from an intimate partner during their lifetimes. More than 40%. White women, Latinas, and Asian Pacific Islanders report lower rates. Black women also experience significantly higher rates of psychological abuse, including humiliation, insults, name calling, and coercive control than do women overall.
Can I just put a pin in that? And let's put on that list because we allow it to happen even in music.
That's a whole other conversation.
No, we're going to get to that conversation today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you experience something so long, you start becoming numb to it. I sat there and thought in my mind today. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to jump in because in my mind today, I'm sitting there like, okay, last night we went to the midweek service. We saw the K's were there, and in the car I was driving. I was like, okay, the K's song. I'm like, okay, the K's song is Scarred. Luke, I've never liked this song itself. I like the beat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but if you listen to what they're saying, he's not saying my girl is so fly.
Anything Two Live Crew, absolutely.
No, but that has not changed.
No, it hasn't. And so this is the main reason why we wanted to have this conversation, this intro for this show today is because of the three of us. Well, actually, all of us, the rape culture that we grew up in.
Rape culture.
We grew up in when you look at the toxic, misogynistic, by and large,
which allowed R. Kelly to happen.
Exactly. By and large, exactly.
Are we
No, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Trust me, we got like another 2 more minutes, and we're gonna get there. We just laying this found. I told you we laying that scripture first, right?
We're gonna come back and give you Deuteronomy.
Absolutely.
Walk the text.
We're gonna walk that text, and so that kind of rape culture from music, from entertainment, all forms of entertainment that we have, I did not realize until my daughter was born, and she's only 3. So I was 33. I was a grown man in my career, well educated. I did not realize how strongly reared and raped, and I'm a church boy. I'm a preacher's kid, but how strongly reared in rape culture I was listening to the music, and not just hip hop. I'm an R&B guy.
Right.
The love songs, but the love songs was talking. All it was objectifying and trying to get that that thing. You know what I'm saying? Trying to. Absolutely. And so,
my song.
And growing up, I was a kid, just like most of my generation. R. Kelly was my guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But the thing about, and his songs never. I mean, the only time his songs was beautiful was when he was flying and he was talking about his mama.
Right.
He was stepping.
Yeah.
In the name of love.
Yeah.
When he was stepping and flying, there are backstories
Yeah,
to
no,
that.
now I know
a lot
them,
of us
yeah.
have historically been unaware of to make you kind of turn your head to the side like, well, wait a minute. That makes the entire interpretation of the song a little bit different than the way I experienced it prior.
Go ahead.
Before, real quick, let me get this last one in. Sexual violence affects black women at high rates. Check this. More than 20% of black women are raped. Over a fifth.
And that's just what's reported.
That's just
talking about what's reported.
Exactly.
And let's talk about molestation.
Molestation is going to go higher, right? You know what I'm saying?
And it's more unreported. It's less likely to be reported.
And because a lot of molestations happen between family members.
Absolutely.
And so it becomes, oh man, it's just so deep, man.
Yeah.
And so we enter into Robert, right?
Yeah.
And everything that happened with him, right? That's been happening over 25 years or whatever.
And the music that allowed it to happen.
Exactly.
Because the people that continue to act like, because I understood. So we watched a little clip of Jada Pinkett this week, and she was like, she put on her Facebook, she said, I'm just at PSA, y'all. I need to know how is it after we watch this series of information that came out to us, how is it that his music is now soaring on platforms?
Yeah,
spiked.
Download spiked. And so people were like, oh, we're just listening, trying to figure out what he was saying in songs to make us whatever. And we were like, you can go to YouTube for that. You don't have to pay him for that. You don't have to download the song.
Right.
Some of us wanted to hear from a different perspective. You don't have to get this. It's the fact that he was able to do what he could do the way he was doing is because he had money.
So,
but not only that.
I mean, the money allows
It-
enablers
it-
and allows the whatever.
Yeah, it facilitated him having access to resources, but ultimately it is an indictment on the entire society.
Oh,
that
no,
we
for
live in.
sure.
So the celebrity, you think about it as far as allowing him access and making him more attractive to the victims. Then okay, well his celebrity of course makes it. What does it mean about you if R. Kelly's trying to holler at you?
Listen, I don't know what it means about you, but before we even get into that, let's talk about how anybody in business can get a part of this situation right now. So this portion of our show is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. Again, the number is 832-772-7789 or advertise@thesphere.tv.
So when we look at this rape culture that we've have been living in for
Too long.
Too long. I don't even know.
Our
how
parents
long.
lived in it.
Exactly. For
Their
too
parents
long.
lived in it.
You know, and it has its roots in patriarchy, right? It does have its roots in patriarchy. And so, and that's a whole different series of shows right there. But how, and I want a clinical response for this one first, if you can, right?
Okay.
How has society allowed, why? How? I can't even finish my question.
The clinical response, is it tied to the response about slavery too? Because I feel like
I'm
they're
sure
one
it
and the same
could be.
somewhere.
I don't know.
There's a multitude of factors that have contributed to that. First of all, you talk about the patriarchy, and if you look at just the very foundation of the country that we live in, that is like in essence 3 of the 4 cornerstones.
Yeah.
3 of them. Not only that, but if we look at the commodification of black women and black women's bodies, I mean that's like not a secret. Again, the majority of your value is based on what it is that you have to offer. And how hypersexualized we've been, not just in our own media, but also in mainstream media. What has been the value of black women? And if he would not have been able to pull off what he was able to pull off if it was not endorsed and authorized by the larger social context. And it wasn't just him, because you consider
absolutely
if
not.
we look at, like, for example, Hitler and the Nazi regime, Hitler couldn't single-handedly have pulled
Right.
off all of what he did
no.
if he did not have
He
foot
had
soldiers.
believers.
And not only that, I would argue that not everybody who ushered somebody to a gas chamber, who put somebody in jail, or was responsible for some dehumanization of a Jewish person during the doggone Holocaust was a subscriber to his ideologies. But they did what they did because it was consistent with whatever the social
They
cultural
were
stuff
loyal
was.
to the culture,
Right.
not necessarily
And
the person.
So in terms of what's happening, if we've already determined that these are people who are not as significant as we are in terms of their value, then it's easier to kind of push it aside. Not only that, but pay attention to how we villainize the victims.
Yeah.
And guess what? A lot of the people who have been supporting R. Kelly have been black women.
And-
So you want
oh.
to talk about the internalization of these ideas of the value of black women? So there are a multitude of different factors that contribute to that, and a lot of that stuff, again, we've taken those concepts of who we are, what our own internalized values are, from the racism stuff that started off with the slavery.
Yeah, I think it's so much to it, and because of it, a byproduct of it, and we did some research. So 1 in 4 African American women are uninsured, right? So we're living in a world where we're actually a little bit more educated, but we're not necessarily insured. But it's showing that we have more cases of hypertension as African American women. More cases of death from cancer, not necessarily breast cancer, but the death from it, because we're not able to take care of ourselves. We have higher rates of STDs, higher rates of HPV, the highest growing number of AIDS cases, 65% of women, African American women. African American women are the highest number of unintended pregnancies, 3 times the rate of white women, and we have lower birth rates. Our kids are born smaller.
And we have the highest rates of mortality in birth.
Birth too.
Yeah.
But all of this is this is you can argue that it has to do with what we deal with, what we bear.
It's a systematic issue.
Yeah, it
so
is.
we talk about Robert Kelly, but Robert Kelly is a symptom of the larger
problem.
issue.
He was created.
He was he was created,
He was
and it's
created.
unfortunate. I heard his story. I heard his brother give the story. I heard his brother talk about them being molested and raped and all that stuff. And again, that goes from that shame conversation that we don't talk about stuff that happens, and when you do talk about it, people sweep it under the rug. You don't get the help that you need. They probably should have been in therapy at a young age. Let's address the problem.
Also, an entry point into that is the loyalty, right? The loyalty almost
to your raper or your
almost
accuser
Stockholm,
or to your
almost
molester.
Stockholm-like, right? Stockholm syndrome in terms of the person who molested you. You don't want to. That person may have kids, or you may know that person's family, so you don't want to sully that person's name because of who they're connected to. To hell with them, bro.
But that
what I mean?
is also part of, like, with domestic violence victims. It's not a process that happens overnight. It's not, I meet you this one time, let me holler at you and I'm come lock you up in this room in this big house in Atlanta, and you were just gonna put you in this. It takes place over a series of times. So there's a grooming, just like with domestic violence victims. There's one step, and if you think about it, a lot of the victims talk about having been treated like they were like the most special person in the universe, and it disarms them emotionally, psychologically. When people are emotionally overwhelmed, then your capacity for rational thought significantly decreases.
It's that casebook, right?
Just what in
terms of how you're treated. Like initially, you're treated a certain way.
Yes,
to get your guard down.
Yes. So it's disarming, but that happens in a lot of relationships.
Right.
Just generic, not necessarily those that are predatory. But if you think about how the door is kicked open as it relates to that, and when a huge part of that is being able to cut them off from access to other people who might help them to challenge whatever psychologically they're battling with, the brainwashing stuff occurs in isolation. And so when people talk about just some of the things that he's done, I need people to take into consideration the larger picture of how predatory it was. This wasn't a matter of there was somebody who got access to the limousine who ended up just getting an autograph and some sexual stuff popped off. No, we understand that it was there was a system to that.
It was a system. And this morning I actually heard on the radio. Yeah, this morning I heard on the radio was talking about this woman that's, I guess she's a comedian or something like that, and she was saying that she's worked with R. Kelly before, and that never happened to her. And some of the people that she saw, that would seem like they were throwing their underwear on the stage, whatever. And I was like, but you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You're missing that he would not actually he's not going to go after the woman that's throwing the panties on it. That's too easy. He has a method. There's things he planned. You know what I'm saying? That it wasn't. He's not necessarily worried about the woman that was rolling up on him with the wheelchair. Is what she said. I was like, that's not what he's looking for. He had something he was looking for.
Right. No, I agree. And it's kind of like you watch these nature shows, and it's almost like the fastest antelope can gloat that the tiger would never catch me.
Right.
But not understanding that the tiger was never chasing you.
Yeah.
He would
waiting for
never.
the weak one. Yeah.
Right.
So to me, I offer
Good analogy.
I offer not a different, but not an alternative, but an additional answer to the question: how did he get away with this? And I think that he was able to exploit the marginalized, which is the black community. We've cried racism so many times to deaf ears, where we've had empirical evidence, we've had videotapes, and we had proof beyond shadow of doubt that we were victims, and we were ignored, or we were made to believe that we made this up.
Talk about
right?
it, Anthony.
So
Talk, brother.
what happens is we start to disconnect from the concept of morality. All we see is a black man being victimized. We don't see that the black man is a predator. So like with Michael Jackson, everyone was just like, they focused on what he produced and not the pain that he caused.
Yeah.
And it's scary because we're a community that is so against mental health. We treat it like, if you go see a psychiatrist, you are admitting that you're crazy. And then you get ostracized, and then you get made fun of and everything like that. But hurt people hurt people. And so if you've been hurt and you're getting into a new relationship, you're not finding a potential mate. You're finding another victim.
Another victim.
And here's the problem, though.
Oh, my God.
But here's the problem. Once you cross the line from prey to predator, no one cares about what happened to you. Do you think that anyone weeps for R. Kelly because he was raped at 7?
No.
No. Why? Because he left in his wake a graveyard of pain that he caused because he never dealt with his. His genius his musical abilities, that's what we decide to focus on so that we don't have to deal with the idea that this whole time we've been victimized. That rape culture you're talking about, I experienced it at 7 years old. And it wasn't a violent thing. It wasn't a boogeyman. It wasn't someone under my bed. It was an uncle asking me, how many girlfriends do you have? And when I said one, all you got is one girlfriend, boy? You know.
Pushing it.
Right. There was an expectation at 7.
That was your bar.
That was my bar. That I was
God.
my job was to create a stable of women. And if I didn't, if I submitted to the idea that I would be at 7 loyal to one girl,
Then you were weak as a boy.
I was not doing my job. But you know who has never asked those kind of questions? The women in my family. As a matter of fact, when they would say, well, I got a boyfriend. No, you don't.
You don't have no
You
boyfriend.
ain't got no boyfriend.
And then that creates that situation. We have to pick this up part 2. Like, y'all, we're gonna have to schedule part 2. But it creates that whole, I'm not going to talk about what's happening with me because I don't want anyone to say, judge me or think that I brought it on myself, because I was told not to get involved. I was told to stay pure. I was told don't date. I was told, so if this happened to me, it's because I brought it on. And that's that whole,
your fault.
it's your fault. That's that Me Too thing. That's
You're
that
a
whole,
harlot. You're a harlot.
yeah. So we have to bring them back to talk about
If we don't
this.
take into consideration the differences in how we're socialized to do relationships, like we're talking about offline. If we don't talk about those differences at 7 years old, he's talking to you. I mean, basically, kind of priming you for pimping.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, the 7-year-old girl in the other room is being primed to have an expectation to do what you need to do in the interest of being able to bag, for lack of a better term, a husband. So they're two completely opposite directions.
And it's supposed to work out in the long run, and this is why it doesn't. And this is why we're always at odds.
Oh, that's because the onus is on each person. I'm responsible for my lack of 10 girlfriends.
Right.
And she's responsible
for her inability to get one.
Or the fact that she's allowing people to flaunt their interest, right? So a little girl is taught to ignore advancements by other men. And the worst thing you can ask a victim is, well, what did you do? Because if boys are calling your house, or boys are showing interest in you,
then you're fast.
You're fast. You are soliciting this behavior,
Oh
even though
my.
you have nothing to do with it. So now you're responsible for your own chastity, even though you're trying to hold on to it. So how do I tell someone that it was taken?
We
I
have
was
to-
responsible for this. I was supposed to protect this.
I'm over here, man.
We gotta talk about this more. We have to talk about the shame game and all of the stuff because it's so deep. We're doing the show live, so we're about to
real
schedule the live
soon.
show.
It's
So
real soon.
y'all have to tune back in because there's so much, and I know you have. It's so much to do, and I don't know.
Tony, let the
Tip of the
people.
iceberg, yo.
Yeah,
It
let the
really is tip of
people,
the iceberg.
let the folks know how they can follow you, where they can get your products, man, and everything.
Awesome. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Tony Massey Speaks. You can purchase both of my books on Amazon.com. Just type Tony Massey in the search bar. And both of my books, A Man's Guide to a Successful Affair and Unsolicited Dating Advice from an Unqualified Source, is going to pop up.
I'm telling you, they're good reads, man. They really are good reads.
They're totally not what you expect.
They're
great.
really good reads. He was a marketing genius with these titles,
Yes,
bro.
yes.
With these titles, for sure. Dr. Moody, what's going on?
Hey, y'all can check me out at www.drjanicemoody.com. And you can also find me at Dr. Janice Moody on Facebook. And I'll let you guys know that, there's some up-and-coming stuff. So if you haven't checked me out before, then be looking for some brand new stuff in 2019.
There it is. There it is.
Awesome. Well, my name is Kira Laws, and you can follow me on the Instagram at the Modern Day Cindy. That's Cindy with an I, not a Y. And
I'm Kalen Laws, a.k.a. Senor Wapo. Follow me at Senor Wapo 713 on all social media outlets. That's SENORGUAPO 713.
what?
This has been a phenomenal show with Society Now. We can't wait for round 2. We'll see you guys soon.